Welcome, good evening to the Slowpitch Softball Academy, week 3 of 3. First week we had a double session where Coach Robbie Robson took us through throwing drills. Week 2 we had Coach Robbie taking us through some hitting drills, and this is particularly exciting because what we're doing is we're going to go through rules, but in a very fun and engaging way, I hope. So on the call, running the call, myself, Joëlle, Head of Commercial at BaseballSoftballUK, and that was the disembodied voice of Chris Knobloch, my colleague who's just flown over from the States to join us. So we never thought we'd be indoors right now with this beautiful weather, but indoors we find ourselves. So the whole point of the Slowpitch Softball Academy is to keep us game ready to run back on the field. Having not forgotten how to hold a glove, throw a ball, swing a bat, and why not get an edge on the rules. So if this presentation allows me to go forward. Right, so let's move on. So we've had those 2 weeks, and all the content is on the private Facebook group that you can have a look at, and also on bsuk.com. Just to clarify, we're here today and we're coming back on Wednesday. That's because there's so much content that we want to go through. We didn't want to rush any of the sessions. So if you signed up for tonight and not Wednesday, do come back. I think you'll find that it's well worth your time. So on to our blues. We're lucky enough to have with us 2 gentlemen wearing a blue cap with BASU. He's not lying, it's Mr. Pete Saunders. From Bath. Now, Pete has been umpiring since 1997 and has been a BASU Blue since 1998 and a BASU trainer since 2012. He's been an ESF qualified Blue for 14 years. He's done, listen to this, 6 European Cups, 6 European Championships, 4 World Cups, and even a Canadian National Championship, has blued all across the world. You'll see him on the field having played years ago for the Bath Buccaneers, Buck Swizz, and most recently the Flycatchers. So that's Pete, and below, but not beneath, is Spencer Suckling. Collectively, this is the fun fact of the day, Pete and Spencer have 50 years of umpiring training between themselves. And even more amusingly, myself and Chris have 50 years of annoying umpires. So that's the point, to stop annoying umpires. But Spencer, who hails from South Africa and in South London, has been playing and coaching since, certainly coaching and umpiring, beg your pardon, since 1993. And that's across all forms of softball, particularly fast pitch and baseball. And he started off doing that in Cape Town. Spencer moved to London in 1997, qualified with the ESF in 2004, even ran out for the famous Baker Tompkins in the formerly named GLSML, and is in the process of requalifying with BASU. Just can't get enough. So those are the experts that are going to take you through some of the themes tonight. Do keep yourselves on mute, but it's going to be quite interactive because there's going to be polling that you can do throughout the session, and do just pop some questions into the chat. Speaking of which, Paul, you pre-submitted a question, and that'll be answered. So these are the themes that we'll be covering tonight. Number 1, understanding strike zones and what pitchers get up to. Number 2, when a catch or a tag isn't an out, always disappointing if you're that fielder, but it happens. And number 3, the one that always fools us, interference versus obstruction. What on earth is the difference? Next Wednesday, this Wednesday rather, we're going to look at the infield fly rule, awards, substitutions and lineups, and also the peculiarities of first base. So I should just say that this isn't a course to become an umpire. This is just a course to cement our understanding of what goes on the field and to give us that competitive edge. So with that, I will hand over to Pete and Spencer, who are going to take us through this. Thanks, folks.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. So what we're going to do here, the three statements, Spencer and I'll read them out. Then you get a chance to answer or say whether you think these statements are true or false. Then the results of that poll, we can, if a lot of people get them wrong, we can go through in a lot more detail on the statements. So might as well start it off and then you can see how it goes. I'll start with the first one. The dimensions of the batter's box are 3 feet wide and 7 feet long. The lines are considered as part of the batter's box. Do you want to do two, Spence? Oh, no. Oh, okay. I thought we had to do all three. So do you want to do the second one, Spence?
Do I drop that? Okay. A pitch ball must have a minimum mark of 6 foot, which is 1.83 meters, and no more than 12 foot, 3.65 meters. So that's a 12-foot height, and the 6 foot is the minimum.
Okay. In the slow pitch, the strike zone is that space over any part of the home plate that's between the batter's armpits and knees when the batter assumes their normal, natural batting stance. So we're going to have a poll. You can say whether you think these statements are true or false. It's on my screen. It's showing. Oh, people are signed up.
Vote now.
Voting is now open, as they say on another TV program.
Is it? Let's see it.
Everyone's voted.
Okay. Okay, so we have the results in. I'll do number one again, as I read it out. Absolutely right. The dimensions of the batter's box are 3 feet wide and 7 feet long. It's actually quite a big batter's box. And as long as your feet are touching those lines when you hit the ball, you're considered to be in the batter's box. Before the pitch, you actually have to be not breaking the line. It is a little different when you're hitting it. So that batter's box is 3 foot by 7 plus the size of your feet when you're hitting the ball. So a lot of batter's box to play with. Do you want to do two, Spence? Or add anything for one?
Right. Nobody for one. It's quite simple, really, but I just go through it a little bit. So the pitch ball, we've got the lower at the 6 foot mark, and the pinnacle or the very top is at 12-foot mark. I don't think there's much explanation needed for that. It's just obviously the 12-foot mark is, well, actually both of them is an umpire judgment call. Any questions on that? I expect there to be one. No?
Very good point, actually, on judgment there, Spence. It
Right.
is on the umpire's judgment. That's all you can do. And contrary to belief, we are human, so we don't always get it right. Okay, the third question, some people got wrong. I'm not surprised because slow pitch and fast pitch, the zone is actually different. In slow pitch, this sentence is false. The strike zone is that space over home plate between the shoulder and the knees in the natural batting stance. So rather than the armpits, in fast pitch, you would have the zone. If I go back a little bit, we're up there. In slow pitch, it's up from there down to your knees. So that, yeah, that's why that statement is false. Slow pitch.
Pete.
Yeah.
Clarification on 1.1. So, if your foot is outside of the batting box and you make contact with the ball and it's fouled off,
yep,
is that counted an out or a strike?
That's actually an out.
It is an out.
If your foot is on the ground, completely outside the box, i.e., not touching any part of the line, and you make contact with the ball, you're out, no matter where the ball goes. Yeah, that's an out.
Okay. I always had a feeling that changed, that you could foul it off.
No, it's always been there. It's actually what I won't bore you with my stories, but I had it in a game many years ago, and the player I gave it against came into the bar, opened his rule book, looked it up, closed his rule book, and put it in the bag, and then went to the bar himself. So I kind of knew from that I got it right, and that was many years ago.
Cool.
Any more questions? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just clarifying what that was, because I think that's one that gets me sometimes, is if you make contact.
Yes, only if you make contact. If you swing and miss, it doesn't matter. That's just a strike. But if you contact the ball with a foot completely out of the box on the ground, you are called out, dead ball, and you're out.
Pete, I have a question. Season before last, I was horrified when I was batting to have a ball come over, and it landed by my feet in the box that my feet were in, and it was in fact called a strike. I appreciate the arc, but it seems very harsh. But apparently that was the correct call. Is that right?
Yeah, Spence.
I can tell you, I can't remember what the team was called years and years ago, but we had a mediocre wind. It wasn't too much, but it was favouring the pitcher, and I had exactly the same call once, and it was actually on the third strike, and it came across and landed right next to the batter's feet, and I rang her up on the 3 strikes, and herself and a couple of other players that we know were furious at me, and it took about half an hour after the game for people to walk away and sort of say, well, your judgment. But honestly, it went across the plat. I mean, I only caught the corner, so it was right across the corner and then landed in the batter's box next to her feet. It happens. It can happen.
I think in the next slide, actually, we do have a picture of Dan Spinks pitching, and he does a pitch where he puts basically the toe of the left foot on the pitcher's plate, leans out as far as possible to the other side, and pitches at an angle.
That's right.
And that, with a bit of, oh, maybe we haven't got it, maybe with a bit of wind, the ball can cross the strike zone, i.e. go over the plate, and land in the batter's box. In that example, it's probably going to land in the left-hand batter's box. But it is possible. Yeah, it's not where the ball lands; it's where it goes through the strike zone.
So it's the sign of a very, very crafty pitcher with the wind up his sails and an unlucky batter. Great, thanks for that. Should we move on to the next theme?
Yeah.
If there aren't any more questions. Any questions maybe from the group about pitching? Oh, hi, Paul.
Sorry, yeah. I was just interested in, because we have to do some umpiring. If the batter stands up and then crouches down as the pitch is coming in, does the strike zone shrink?
Now, this is an awkward. The first time they do it, you don't know what their natural batting starts. But if you've ever seen them, or the next time they actually swing, that's when you know what their natural stance is.
Okay.
I can't remember the guy's name. An American guy played a few years ago. Did bat with his, he was crouched down almost in a sumo stance, and that's how he batted. But I've never seen anyone else do that. Right. Usually speaking, it's more of an upright, usual stance, standard stance. But if someone does swing the bat in that position, then that is their natural stance. But it's very unusual for me.
I can actually speak to that very slightly. I wasn't planning on it, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a Yankees player named Chuck Knobloch. If he's my cousin, we're not sure. We can't prove it one way or the other. But his batting stance was to arch over and almost be over the strike zone. And what it did is it made it so pitchers couldn't use the top of their strike zone. It was his natural batting stance. That was just how he operated. But it was strategic the way he had his batting stance. However, when it changed later on in his career, he started getting called out on pitches that normally he'd hit because it was still within his strike zone, his former strike zone.
Yeah.
Oh, so the history followed him.
Mm.
He had bigger fish to fry, though. He had a problem throwing to first base.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Any more questions on strike zones and batter's boxes?
I think that's it. Let's carry on and move to when a catch or a tag isn't an out. Pete.
Do you want to take the first one, Spence? Then we share them out equally.
Okay, so it is considered a good catch when a fielder catches a fly ball with either foot touching the ground entirely in dead ball territory.
Second one, a fielder catches the ball in the glove but drops the ball while transferring to the throwing hand. This is a legal catch.
Okay, runner one is running to second base. When F4 touches them with the glove while holding the ball in his other hand, R1 should be called out.
So we've got the poll going.
And F4 is second base, just by the way.
Oh yeah, good point. Actually, this is like
Sorry.
phrases we use that, yeah, we
Just
assume everyone knows
case.
them, which we probably can't. Shouldn't assume that.
So the pitch map might help, the field map.
Oh yes, yeah.
We've
This
thought
is
of
actually-
everything, Pete.
Interesting.
Mhm. Very interesting.
Everyone has voted.
Okie dokie.
Yeah,
You want to take the first one, Spence?
got it in. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. This is quite a common one that people will talk about sometimes, or more often than not. But so I'll just repeat the question. It's considered a good catch when a fielder catches a fly ball with either foot touching the ground entirely in dead ball territory. So therefore, what do we need for when a catch comes into play? Do we either need, and this is the way I remember it, do we either need both everything in foul ball territory, or can we have part in foul ball and part out? Where we have the line and you have your split feet, these are feet now, all right? As long as one of these feet, your left or your right, all right, is touching fair, or in fair territory, obviously, and not in the dead ball. Sorry, hold on 2 seconds. Pete, sorry, I've messed this up. Can you go ahead?
Yeah,
Take it
sure.
over.
Um,
I'm getting lost here because
no worries. This is, as Spence said, this one does cause a lot of confusion. I suppose mainly because the rules are written for fenced fields, and this couldn't really happen. But if one foot, either foot, is touching ground entirely in dead ball territory, i.e. not touching the dead ball line, so over that line on the ground, and you catch the ball, it's a dead ball, it's not a catch. If you were to catch it, then go over the dead ball line, that is a catch. We come onto that on Wednesday. But if your foot's on the ground, completely in dead ball territory, when you catch it, it's not a catch. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And this, as an umpire, this has caused controversy because it's only the latest version of the rule book where this is written clearly. Previous years, it's been very hard to find, or previous 4-year cycles. At the moment, now it's been written well. Do you want to do two then, Spence?
Well, yeah, okay. I was just going to go into one other thing.
Oh, sorry.
So,
Yeah.
what I was thinking about this question the other day when I was going through them all, because you also have the situation where somebody has a foot in foul territory, so they're standing over the foul ball line, 1 foot fair and 1 foot in foul, and then the catch is made. You're understanding where the confusion comes in sometimes between the two differences?
That's a good point, actually, Spence, because at that situation, it's where the ball is rather than where the feet are when it's first touched.
Very much so, yeah. But once you're talking about the dead ball territory, then it's completely virtually the opposite.
speed.
So that's why I was getting confused earlier.
Yeah, it is confusing, I think, for a lot of people.
We're going on to 2.
Yep.
It's a great one because this has all got to do with 2 things. And this is all purely judgment on the umpires. Was the catch made fairly? Was it proper a catch? Was the ball held properly? And from that situation, you have the catch. What happens after that with the transfer is actually pretty much irrelevant, as in when the ball goes to the hand that is going to be thrown, then you just have a transfer. But the catch, if the catch was made good and fair, then you have an out.
Yeah, so we mentioned the other day, it's release of the ball is voluntary, i.e. the fielder deliberately went in to get the ball out of the glove to throw it. So they've got the catch, then it's transferred in, lost in transfer, good catch.
Correct.
And number 3.
And also, okay. No, Pete.
I was just saying,
I was just going to say, and also sometimes the transfer is just when they actually just open the glove up to let the ball hit their throwing hand, so they throw it. And a lot of people will take that as it wasn't caught properly, but it's a catch that counts.
Yeah, different people have different transfer speed, as we all know. I saw someone on Facebook the other day, and there's a baseball player using the back of the glove, and the ball was instantly, it hit the glove. It was in his throwing hand, throwing. That was a decent catch. Wow. He controlled it with a glove. Quite an amazing skill set.
Yeah.
So again, judgment, the umpire's judgment on whether it was under control long enough and was under control to be a good catch. And the third one here, one of my team members does is so much and gets away with it. Looks like you all got that one right. And to be honest, with this one, it's more a case of the fielder trying to get the throw. So say your shortstop fields it, the runner from 2's coming towards them. They want to tag the player and get the throw to 1, and they take the ball out of the glove before tagging. And as an umpire, you've got to really be watching out for this and let the players know that it was an empty glove. Because if you're tagged on the back, you assume you're tagged. So an umpire, if you're running, you feel a touch on your back and you hear safe, then keep running. If you hear an out, you're out. But if you hear a safe, it probably means the fielder has done exactly this scenario, has taken the ball out of the glove too early. And you may not know that as the runner, but listen to what the umpire's telling you and carry on. And your base coach as well, they'll tell you.
I have a follow-up question there, which is if there was a force out at second and the second baseman were to tag second base with their glove rather than with their foot, not that this is a thing that I've done in a game, is that a legal out?
So it's a force play, but you tag them with the ball in the glove? Or?
If a force play, but you have tagged the bag with the glove rather than with the foot.
Oh, you can, as long as you've got the ball under control, you can hit the base with your head, anything. Yeah.
Excellent.
But it's
Thank
not just the foot. Yeah.
Excellent display of coordination on my part, I assure you.
Still an out. You take the credit for the out. Any more questions on?
Any questions on any of those?
You're going to talk about running lines. Question number 3, running line. So the second baseman fields it on the line. The runner run around the field, either front or behind. When are you starting to gauge the running line at that point? You because they've got to make it. They'd have to veer around the fielder if they took off.
I didn't really hear all of that. The microphone went a bit funny.
I was going to talk about running line. So in your scenario 3, you've got second base. They field the ball roughly on the line. So you're a runner, you're running from 1 to 2, you're running in a straight line, you want to run that line. But of course, you've got to give the fielder priority to field the ball.
Right.
And you run around. Obviously, there's an imaginary 3-foot running line. Are you gauging it from, when do you gauge it from?
That's a really good question, actually. There something that we do talk a lot in umpiring clinics. You've got the baseline and the running line. They're actually two different things.
Yeah.
The baseline is, as the name suggests, the direct line between the bases. But the running line can be different, and it is in this instance. As you said, the fielder has the right of way to field the batted ball, and the runner has to avoid him. Now, the minute the fielder tries to tag the runner's path, base path, is the line from where he is now directly to the base he's running to. So it's determined at the point the fielder tries to tag him. So he's allowed through for either side of that line.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're running out. You take off. The fielder's on the line. You veer off slightly. So it's from that point then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You engage it from there.
So I mean, it could be 3 feet, more than 3 feet away from the actual baseline, but not out of his base path, his running path. And if someone's doing more than one base, they often come in more of a circle. So it's from the point. It's from the point when the fielder tries to tag them. Their running line must be a straight line from where they are to the base. That's the centre of this 3 foot. 3 foot either side of that line. So yeah, that's a good question.
Spence, Pete, I've got a question.
Go for it.
It's maybe not as clever as Alan's, but if you're in the outfield and a ball risks flying past you and it's on the ground, is it okay to chuck your glove at it?
No.
Look, as I'm getting older, it's getting harder to chase those balls. It's a very important answer.
No, it's not. I mean, there is a penalty. I think it comes under the awards. We're doing it a bit later. But if it's a batted ball and you throw your glove at it and the ball makes contact, it's another of these ones. If you throw the glove and it misses, no one really cares. The umpire might talk to you and say, "Don't do that again." But if it hits the ball, the batter is protected. They're safe to at least third base. If it's a thrown ball, it's only 2 bases. They're protected. But it's something you really shouldn't do.
Okay, I won't do it again, promise.
Did Spence get it right last time you did it?
Yeah, it's the same answer, thanks.
Good. Any more on catch or tag isn't an out? There are loads more scenarios you can probably make up or have happened on this. So if you think of any, at the end of this, Spence and I said we'll hang around as long as people want to ask questions. So if there is something that comes to mind, just ask it whenever it comes to mind.
I think the one on number 2 back there is the other one that comes up is not the transfer, is the outfielder fields it high, makes a mistake, touches it, and then catches it kind of at waist level because they've kind of screwed up the regular technique. So they've touched the ball at that point, which makes the ball live, but then the catch is valid because they caught it afterwards. That's the other. That's the other one. He's on contact. Is the other one that confuses people on first catch.
When runners can leave the base.
Yeah,
absolutely. Another one a lot of people get wrong. As most of you probably know, if the ball is caught, you have to be on your base, or go back to it. But it's not on the catch. It's actually as Alan said, it's on the touch. If it's juggled, you can leave the minute it's touched, even if it's not caught. Then it's caught later. The touch is when you can be running to get to your next base to advance on the catch. Another good question. Liking these.
Right, and now on to our third and final session for a theme for the evening. Paul, you'll be pleased. Interference and obstruction, what is the difference? Pete?
This was a question that was put earlier. The two things are more or less the same. It's who does it that is the difference between the two words. Basically means someone's getting in the way or confusing or hindering you. Interference is when one of the batting team, the offense, does something that stops a fielder, the defense team doing their job. Obstruction is when a fielder stops a runner doing what they're meant to be doing. The reason there are 2 words for this in the rules, interference is treated a lot more harshly than obstruction. which I've got a little example I can do once we've done the rest of the slides. So we've got the Paul's question. So that's why they're different. Interferences by the batting team, obstructions by the fielding team. Yeah, if we just do the three questions, and we'll do the poll, then we've got a bit more we can add into this, which hopefully will summarise it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The runner should be called out if they run into a fielder who is trying to field a batted ball.
Second one is if a runner is obstructed by a defensive player, the ball becomes dead immediately.
The batter hits the ball to the outfield. Should F3 or F4, F5 or F6, any of the infielders stand on their bases? So poll should be opening.
I like these questions.
I've got a bit of a summary for this, which I stole from somebody else, which helped me get these into my head. Most of these stuff we steal from somebody else.
True.
Oh, looking good.
Good, good.
Not being mean, but it's quite nice if someone, or more than one, gets the wrong answer, because it gives us more to talk about and to explain. If everyone gets it right, we tend to think, there's no point taking it any further. So for us, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got everyone.
3-0. Okay.
Let's move that out of the way again. Okay. The runner should be called out if they run to a fielder who's trying to field a batted ball. You'll get that right. Absolutely. This thing I nicked from somebody else, it's like you have a turn. The batter's had their turn. Now it's the fielder's time to have their turn. So off a batted ball, the fielder has the right of way. On a thrown ball, the runner has the right of way because the fielders are throwing it. Now it's the runner's turn. So if you think of it, you're taking turn. A fielder must have the right to field a batted ball. As someone said earlier, if you're running the bases and someone's trying to field it, you have to avoid them. If you run into like that, you are going to be called out, and possibly more. It depends.
Precisely.
If the umpire decides it was you were trying to run into them, you might find you get a sterner word from your friendly umpire.
You call them out there and then, but you don't call dead.
That's good. Well, interference, yes, you call it dead the minute it happens. This is why the questions are actually different. It's probably worth doing the answer if Spence does the explanation for 2, that'll probably explain it well.
The runner, being defensive, has one main goal, and that is to score a run. And we may also have 2 other runners plus a batter runner out there trying to score runs. So, and that's what the object of the game is to score runs. So therefore, if the runner, the offensive player, is being obstructed by a defensive player, we are not going to stop runs, and therefore we are not going to call the ball dead, because there may be runs elsewhere on the diamond that are possible. So the ball does not become dead immediately.
It's what we call a delayed dead ball, which look out for the signal, its arm out like that. It's basically like in football, advantage. We've seen there's something happened, something's gone wrong, but we're not stopping play immediately. Now, as a runner, you're probably not going to see that, but as a base coach, you should be watching for this. You've seen a fielder's got in the way, and as a base coach, you should be telling your runner, keep going, you're protected. So we use that word protected. You cannot be out between 2 bases where you're obstructed. If you're tagged, you're not out. That's when the delayed dead ball becomes a dead ball, and we have to put runners where we think they'd have got. But at that point, the person who is obstructed cannot be put out between the bases where they're obstructed, and possibly more. That's something. While that arm's up, you're still protected. Once it comes down, you're no longer protected, and your base coaches should be looking out for that for you and helping you as a runner to go as far as you can. Like Spence said, you want to score runs. That's what it's about. So that's probably two. The batter hits the ball to the outfield. Should have 3 or 4, 5 or 6 stand on their bases? No. As coach, I know a lot of you are coaches as well. If it's an outfield hit, and first base is the prime one where this happens, then 80% of the time they're going straight to first base. If the ball's the outfield, they shouldn't be on their base. The runner has the right of way. And if it's a big outfield hit and first base is standing on the white part of the safety base, the umpire will give a delayed dead ball, stopping the runner run their normal path. And it might be 2 or 3 bases they're protected for if it's a big outfield hit. And the umpire will decide that and keep his arm up as long as he's protecting them. At the minute, if the umpire said they would have got to third base, they'll have their arm out. As soon as the runner hits third base, down comes the arm, no longer protected. At that point, if they're tagged, they would be out. But so look out for that side. The arm out, one of our umpire signals, and it will tell you. Hopefully you'll see it, and you'll know you're protected, or your base coach will know that you're protected.
However, on that point, don't get caught out as well, because what may happen is if F4, it's the second base person, they are entitled to the very outside of the base with their heel. If the ball, if it's a fly to 8 or 10, for instance, F4 may go to the outside of their base using their heel, hoping the ball's coming into them. And then a runner may come along and actually collide on purpose with F4, thinking they've got right of way and looking for the obstruction. That is one of those catches where, not catches, that's one of those judgment calls that you have to watch for.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. It's a note I wrote down to mention here. The definition in the rule book of obstruction and interference is someone distracting, hindering, there's another word I keep forgetting, say a runner. So obstruction, a fielder being in the way, they can only be in the way if they got the ball in their possession. If they haven't got the ball, they can't be hindering or distracting a runner. And there doesn't have to be contact. Often there is in both cases. But the situation that Spence was mentioning there, as a batter, you hit a nice hit, you get obstructed at one, you're a bit miffed with that, so you decide to run into the player and maybe drop the shoulder. That then becomes an interference. The batter is running into a fielder deliberately, and the obstruction gets dropped. That doesn't happen. Interference overrules obstruction. So, as a runner, if you are obstructed, hope the umpire's giving you the protection you should get. Don't take the rules into your own hands and try and make it obvious you were obstructed by elbowing somebody, because that could turn it into interference rather than obstruction. And actually, on Paul's question was, can the coach say anything if the umpire has missed an obstruction? It's a judgment call, as Spencer mentioned earlier, and judgment calls you can't appeal. But so the coach really can't do much, but runners can. Now, as a runner, I used to do this really badly. If I thought I was being obstructed, I'd wave my arms in the air, "Get out of the way," which kind of brings it to the attention of the umpire that something might be wrong. So the runner can help the umpire to see it, but coaches really can't say very much about it because they're not on the field as part of the batting team at that point. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, certainly it does answer my question. I mean, I know umpires have a lot to see, especially when they're on their own officiating games. It's just really, I think what you said about the runner making some sort of noise to indicate that it's a possibility, I think that's a good thing. With the interference, does there have to be an element of contact there. If the runner is running, say, in front of the fielder as the ball is coming towards the fielder, would that be deemed to be?
Absolutely. Yep. There doesn't have to be contact. And I've seen this and hopefully got it right as an umpire and being given out as a runner. Decent hit, coming around third base. Third baseman steps off the base into the infield as you're getting close, basically standing in your way.
Right.
There's no contact. And I was tagged out, sliding at home by missing, not being safe by a few inches.
Yeah.
And I was given out. I wasn't very happy about that. The umpire apologised afterwards, said he probably should have given me obstruction.
Okay.
There was no contact, but it did affect my running line, which slowed me down.
Yeah.
So there doesn't have to be. There often is, but there doesn't have to be.
And what about the other way around? If it's a runner, say, running in front of a fielder who is attempting to field the ball?
Again, it can be. It's harder to call that as an umpire. It's harder to see. Coaching point, I'd say if the fielder's trying to field it, the runner is better off running behind the fielder because you're not going to be called out for interference on that.
Yeah.
Running in front, possibly. It's a tough one, though. Sorry, Spence.
It's also very, if you're a one umpire system and you've got bases loaded, a one umpire system has a lot to look at.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is always a problem. Obviously, if you're doing an official game where you've got 4 or possibly sometimes 6 umpires, then you concentrated on certain areas of the field. So it is always a problem. I mean, if you've got bases loaded, then generally speaking, you're following the ball and you're not following any of the other runners. So sometimes you do lose out on a call because of that situation.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. 90% of the time, probably more in the UK. We've got one umpire. And we hopefully we see a lot of it, but we are going to miss stuff, particularly with multiple runners on bases. I was chatting to someone online the other day. You've got runners leaving early. If you've got 2 or 3 runners on bases and a fly ball, you've got to position yourself in such a way that you can see. Well, you can't see all the runners; it's not possible. But you kind of pick the one one or two you're going to think are going to be more the ones more likely to score, perhaps. Yeah. So you can see those in your frame, see the catch, make sure they were touching, look back at the other runner. So you're trying as hard as you can. But sometimes there's a lot to see as one umpire.
Absolutely, yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions from anyone on the call? Now, speak now, forever hold your peace.
Can it be random, or does it have to be related to these 3 questions the scenarios we've just seen?
The more random, the better.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I had a question about what's the definition of an outfielder? What happens if one of your outfielders, or sorry, not yours, because we play by the rules, but what happens if one of the opposition's outfielders goes and stands on second base and makes a 5-person infield, and therefore you have 3 people in the outfield, but it's obviously claimed that they're just a roamer. They just happen to have come in really close.
This is probably the most talked about question amongst umpires you get, because it's really badly defined in the rule book.
And especially as we used to have in the old days, we used to have the line that used to help us.
The 150-foot line, yeah. That was a league thing more than anything else. The only thing I've ever come up with that I can say within the rules, you have to have 2 male, 2 female in the infield, 2 male, 2 female in the outfield, but it doesn't define where these bits are. But if you have a rover, comes in and ends up, like you say, standing very close to second base, and say you've got a female at second base who is fielding deeper, at that point you could argue you haven't got the male-female balance right. But there is really nothing in the rule book to say where outfielders have to stand. Well, it said they have to stand in the outfield, and the definition of the outfield is where the outfielders stand. So it's a circular argument. Yeah, that one causes a lot of discussion at all levels.
goes.
The other thing I often say, if you've got someone standing that close, there's a big gap in the outfield, so hit it there. Yeah, good question. I'm sorry I haven't got a better answer.
Okay.
No, I think it's just to add on to that quickly. I think it's something that I've always wanted to see be inserted. When we used to play under the ASA rule book, obviously you have the 150 line, but it's never been brought into the ISF rule book.
No, that's taking us back, Spence. That was in the start of the 2000s. I think we were still playing ASA.
Yeah, you're right. We were. Yeah.
I'd like to follow up Paul's random question with another one, please. It talks to theme 1, and what do you as umpires, where do you draw the line with catchers being, encouraging / disruptive? I mean disruptive nicely, being a little bit too chatty.
I've always adhered to this, and I will carry on doing it no matter what I'm told by anyone that believes they're more senior than me. When the batter comes up to bat, you can do what you want. Once a batter is in the stance and is ready to receive a pitch, then the ragging, or whatever you want to call it, has to cease, because then the batter has to concentrate, or has the right to concentrate on the incoming pitch. Anything verbally while the pitcher is coming in, or while the pitcher is releasing and the ball's coming in, I deem that to be out of order.
I agree with you, Spence. This has been a big topic on the one of the softball websites that players wanted, or one other thing anyway. One player in particular really doesn't like this. And I'm with him. If someone shouts, "Yeah!" just as you're about to swing the bat, it can put you off. And we do have a rule we can employ there. It's catcher interference. And if as the umpire you think that's really put them off, you can offer the batter the choice, or the coach the choice, to take whatever happened there, or to play that again. Take it as if it was a no pitch. But it doesn't happen that often. Most batters actually focus. You're looking at the ball. You're not worrying what anyone's saying. And the argument is the crowd shouting, the umpire shouting, but we're never shouting as you're about to hit the ball as an umpire. The crowds might be, but they're the other side of the fence. They're quite a distance away. The catcher is standing 3 feet. If they shout loudly, it can be off-putting. So I'm with that. I'm prepared to do that if I think it's affected the batter's ability to hit the ball.
And apart from I also bring in the unsports-like attitude to them as well. And I will actually warn a catcher about their behaviour.
Okay. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Pete. I think we should probably wrap it up there. Keep people wanting more, ready to come back on Wednesday. So,
excellent.
Unless you had anything more to add, Pete and Spence, please do so now and talk over me. But thank you from all of us.
One thing actually, sorry to interrupt. Something that came out that softball Canada thing you didn't enjoy as much as I did. And it applies to coaches as much as umpires. And I think it's a very valid point. We have some coaches on this as well. We've all enjoyed playing the game, but when you become an umpire or a coach, it enables you to put something back into the game. I mean, I've got a lot out of playing the game, and actually out of umpiring it too. But it does, it's a way you can put back into something that's given you something, whether it be coaching or umpiring. I'm not going to say you have to do one or the other, but it's a way you can put back into something you like.
I think that's a great segue in to find out more, Pete. Couldn't have scripted that better.
So, the last slide.
This isn't a sales pitch, but for anyone wanting to cement their understanding of rules, BASU run regular courses in conjunction with leagues. So have a look on the BSF website on that little screen grab that's on the slide deck. And when the slide deck's posted on the Facebook group, all those are hyperlinks. So have a look there. There are no courses planned imminently, but there will be. In fact, the last one I remember was the Windsor and Maidenhead League, and Tim Tim Taylor ran one on Saturday the 14th of March at Farnham, probably one of the last ones for a while. But have a look, and any new courses will be posted via the BSF website. There are about 120 pages of the WBSC rulebook, so you know, it could be a long summer, so do have a read if you like. And then Pete and Spencer have kindly made their details available if you've got any other head scratches. So with that, just thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and hope to see you all on Wednesday when we've got the 4 final themes: infield flies, understanding awards, understanding substitutions and lineups, which is particularly useful if you're a team manager or a coach, and finally all the nuances around first base. So thanks everyone. Stay safe, stay alert, and have a good evening.
All the best. All the best, everyone. Thank you.
Good questions. Very good questions.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Cheers now.